Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Environment. Will the Minister outline how the government is tackling climate change without a tax on electricity? And are there any alternative plans for a new tax on manufacturers like the steelmaker Arium in my electorate of Grey?
The Minister for the Environment.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And I want to thank the member for Grey who commented to me just before question time that on this of all days, when Arium is in emergency talks and they're in administration, he couldn't imagine a worse time for a new manufacturing and electricity tax. A tax on the workers, a tax on the firm and a tax on jobs. And it comes against a background of two very different choices for Australia and South Australia. We have an economic plan which was laid out by the Prime Minister and the Treasurer successively over recent weeks and will reach its culmination this evening, and in particular which includes the defence and innovation work which will be so vital to jobs in South Australia. Work which was welcomed not just by us but indeed by the South Australian Treasurer last week, who said Minister Pyne has done exceptional work for South Australia in the last 7 days. Not one of ours, one of yours. The minister was too modest to mention it himself. And we compare that, characteristically modest, and we compare that with the alternative of what the other side has put forward. We know, because we announced the Department of Environment figures to the United Nations only a week and a half ago, that Australia will meet and beat our target by 78 million tonnes in terms of managing our emissions. Two very successful auctions. I hope a third successful auction will be announced before the end of this week. So we're doing our job. We're doing our part. We're doing this as part of a broader national narrative of our responsibilities, but also building jobs and reducing the pressure on households. The comparison is that last week Labor announced a new tax on electricity, a new tax on manufacturing, a new tax on jobs. And what does it mean for families in South Australia? Well, we know from Labor's own modelling of Labor's own policy that it's a 78% increase in wholesale electricity prices. Their modelling by Treasury, and you know how much they love Treasury modelling, their modelling of their policy. And what does it mean beyond that? It also means, though, that there is a tax on Arium and manufacturing and similar firms right around Australia. And when we look to what their own union leaders have said about this, Tony Marr has said of their policy, quote, "It would increase the cost of electricity for manufacturing and ordinary households." Jeff Dyke, also of the CFMEU, said he had concerns about potential job losses, and Gary Wood of the CFMEU said that it was half-baked. So Bill Shorten tells us he wants to govern like a union leader. Well, when it comes to the carbon tax, not even the union leaders want him to govern like a union leader.